AV in your ears, that's Ambush Van, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street, you already know, let's get it. When you whip in the Fascination Street, what do you... Oh my, time to change it.
This is Titus Welliver, and you're listening to Fascination Street Podcast. Dig it, baby.
It's a rhythm of the blues song singing. Yeah, AV in your ears, that's Ambush Van, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street, you already know, let's get it. When you whip in the Fascination Street, what do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Derek Garrison. Derek is a high school principal by day and a filmmaker by night. Derek lives in Oregon. He is the principal of a high school, so there's a ton of fun things to explore there. We talk a little bit about that, and then we talk about how he got into film and television. He is a screenwriter who has written a ton of stuff, and he recently made his first feature film. It is called Van Damned. Vandamned, you know, like if a van was cursed or something, then that would be a damned van or whatever. It's not about JCVD at all. Or is it? So we talk about this horror comedy film, Van Damned, why he did it, how long it took him to do it, how much it cost. The why that he did it is a really, really cool story. It's a heartwarming tale, to say the least. We also talk about a 12-minute short film that he made previous to that called A Hint of Menace, which you can watch on YouTube for free. It's like 12 minutes. It's hilarious. Derek writes really funny lines. He's a funny writer, and this horror comedy Van Damned is no exception. Van Damned will be released to some streaming platforms toward the latter part of 2025, so make sure you go check that out. You can follow the film on Instagram and TikTok at Van Damned Movie to find out when and where it's going to be available to watch. And I highly recommend it. You're going to have a blast. And this is my conversation with high school principal and filmmaker Derek Garrison.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Derek Garrison. What's up, dude?
Good morning. Good morning. Happy to be here.
It is 100% my pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Derek Garrison. He is a filmmaker. He's a screenwriter, a director, sometimes an actor, but we're going to get to all that later. Derek, what I like to do first is I like to start from the beginning. It helps us understand how the guests got from where they were to where they are. So where were you born and raised, man? Where'd you grow up?
Well, I was born in Eastern Oregon, a small town called Burns, out there in the high desert, but moved to the Portland area about age 3 or 4. So I frequent the high desert, but I would say that I was raised mostly just outside of Portland, Oregon.
I have lived just about my whole life in San Antonio, Texas, and we consider ourselves the desert. I thought Portland was all trees and rain, dude. How are you going to be like, oh, I'm in the desert?
Yeah, well, so between Burns and Portland, it's a ways away, but some of the beauty of Oregon is you can see a lot of different types of land in Oregon. So I'm a mountain range away. And so once you get over the mountains there, it turns from beautiful forest to beautiful high desert and some sagebrush. So born in the desert, but raised in the pines. So, yeah.
Oh, that's a cool, that's the name of your biography.
There we go. Yeah.
There's a mountain range that just cuts your state in half, or?
Washington and Oregon and California. So just that Cascade range just keeps on going. And so Mount Hood is the famous mountain. So if you're on the west side of Mount Hood, a lot of rain, a lot of green. And if you're on the east side of Mount Hood, a lot less green and a lot less rain, but some of its own type of beauty. So yeah, I love Central Oregon and Eastern Oregon. It's kind of like being in a different state, but it's all Oregon. I put it up against...
Careful.
Gosh, any state, any state. I was in Texas, dude. I was in Texas this summer, and we had a spirited argument between the brothers on a trip of Texas versus a couple other states. But I think I'd offend you by even mentioning the other states that were in competition with you.
You would.
Yeah.
What were you doing in Texas?
Yeah, so my day job and my brother's day job kind of coincided for a good opportunity. I'm a high school principal. by day. We may get into that. And he's a sergeant, and we went to the National Conference for School Resource Officers. So educators and law enforcement getting together, just talking about school safety and just that big issue and that big topic. So we were at a conference there in Grapevine, and then we took a drive. We hadn't been to any other places out there much. So we went to Arkansas, and then my son was doing a internship in Nashville. So we went to Nashville. So just a really cool, fun road trip with me and my brothers, some family time, but some country that we had not seen before. Great time.
Yeah, that's wild. What a fun road trip.
Absolutely. Yeah. 10 days.
So it was just you and your brother?
Yeah. Me and my brother were there for work. And then my other brother flew in. He's an educator. He had some time off. So he joined us for the last couple thirds of it. So did some fun in Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, with our goal being not to shift the focus here, but man, I love me food. Our goal was to eat barbecue for every meal.
Did you?
Yeah, we would skip breakfast on account of calories, and then we would hit it hard, and we would just go try different barbecue throughout that entire journey. I don't think we ate any. We did not eat a lunch or dinner that was not barbecue. Well, wait. We did have some hot chicken there in Nashville.
Well, that's required.
Yeah. No, they would have kicked us out had we not. So
I would have hung up on you right now.
Yeah.
So where was the best barbecue? And so barbecue means different things to different people. Right. Some people barbecue means brisket. Some people barbecue means chicken or ribs. What was barbecue to you, and where was the best?
No, that's a really good point. So we researched that out, knowing like that it would be different things, and that by the time we got to Nashville, it would be, here's what we're seeking over here and whatnot. But I would say, am I okay saying the name of a place?
Knock yourself out.
Hurtado's.
Oh, you can't say that one.
Yeah, I would say Hurtado's was some delicious brisket.
Where is it?
It's in Dallas.
Oh.
It's near where the Cowboys play. And it was just delicious. Excellent brisket, really kind people, some good cobbler, delicious sides. So we go in there and we're just trying to, there's a really good Texas barbecue up where we live that we traditionally go to. So that was like the gold standard. But Hurtado's, man, it may have eclipsed it. The best brisket for sure. Really good sides. And they had kind of this sampler plate. That was the highlight. And it was a really warm day. They took us back and kind of showed us behind the scenes what they do. Really nice people, really delicious food. So yeah, Hurtado's in Dallas. That's our recommendation.
Very cool. I love that tip. My sister lives in Dallas, so I go there every once in a while. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
So Derek, you mentioned that you are a high school principal. Now, are you like the mean one from Back to the Future, or are you a cool one?
Oh man, I don't know that I'd say I'm cool. It keeps me young. My dad was a vice principal athletic director, and so I had seen that life.
You had to one up your dad?
I had to like, exactly. I'll do this better than you, old man. So I had seen it, and I've got 4 sons that have gone to the school here. So it's basically a paid front row seat to their adolescence and seeing stuff. And I feel like I've done a decent job of kind of the balance of I'm here, but I'm not here. I'm letting you do your thing. But I had lived it as a kid. And so I knew like this can be done. It's weird maybe, but it's just kind of life. So I had the opportunity to apply for the job where I'm at and knew that, oh man, this would be an opportunity to be a principal where my kids could go to school. Got the job, and it's just been this great blessing of a lifetime. You can watch them grow up doing their sports and music and different kinds of things. And it's just been super fun. So I don't know if that makes me cool, but I do think it makes me a little bit young at heart. It's been super helpful as a parent, just kind of seeing like what is really going on with kids nowadays. So I consider myself fortunate I get some insider access to the reality of youth in America, and it's just been super fun, man.
Well, let's talk about the youth of America for a minute. Since you have a front row seat and, you're on both sides of that line, you got 4 boys and then also you get to see all these other kids every day. Would you say that kids today is different than kids when we were young?
There's just so much more access to everything, for good and for bad. And so what that does is it raises the ceiling and it lowers the floor, if that makes sense. And that's tough. It requires that adults, whether that's parents or family or coaches or teachers or counselors or church people or whatever, we've got to be paying a little closer attention because the dangers are real, but the opportunities are also real. with access to information and technology and resources and different things. So I don't know if kids are different, but the world that they're in is certainly different. And it's our job to kind of be paying attention to that and helping them navigate, like, this is what's up now in the world. And so that's a lot of responsibility. And there can be a lot of, I guess, anxiety around that as parents or teachers or adults. And that in and of itself is its own thing of like, the world is tough. What if I'm adding anxiety to that of, hey, the world is tough? And how often do we kind of pound that message into people of, you should be nervous, you should be nervous, you should be nervous. And that can also be detrimental. So it's tough. The kids probably the same. My dad used to say, the good ones aren't as good as you think and the bad ones aren't as bad. That continues to be true as you get to know kids, even ones that make questionable decisions or bad decisions and stuff like that, is you can get at them and their good qualities and the things that they value. And it's still fairly easy to find shared values with young people and just people in general. And if you're coming at it with that approach, things usually go all right. And then the ones that maybe aren't as good as maybe a transcript or a resume might show, you can humble them for good reason and not in a retribution type of way, but just in a, hey, let's be better people. Let's think about other people. We had a parent conference last night, and I was just reminding a parent, like, some of the things that high schoolers need most are opportunities to think about somebody besides themselves. So if you get into something like service learning or kids doing projects for an old folks home or little kids or put on a camp or something, that's some really good stuff that I think kids do maybe a better job of nowadays of thinking of others. And so that's been a pretty fulfilling part of the job, is just seeing young people get creative about, hey, I've got this idea for the elementary school. I've got this idea for veterans. I got this. It's pretty cool to see kids learn to think about other people besides themselves.
Based on that conversation, I'm going to make a landmark monumental decision right now.
Okay.
I have decided that you are a cool principal.
Oh, great. I will maybe show this podcast to others and remind them when they think otherwise. Steve, sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't think I'm cool. They think I'm all kinds of other cuss word.
Get right on out of the city.
Every once in a while, yeah.
That's awesome that's what you do, and that's how you fill your days, and that's how you pay your bills. What I really want to know is, when did you first get into movies? And I don't just mean movies as, laying down on the floor watching TV when you were a kid or whatever, or going to the movies, sneaking into the movies like the bad guy you were. But what I mean is, when did you know that you wanted to be part of film and television?
Yeah, well, it was my senior year at Portland State University, and I was an English major. And at that point, there weren't online offerings. And so I'm looking at my schedule, and I think at that time, I had already had my oldest boy. It was busy times. I was working a lot. And so it was really only going to work to take a night class. So I was already really limited choices. Like, how am I going to get this last few credits for my degree? And it came down to the only two classes that would fit the bill for work and life schedule were screenwriting and linguistics. And I had already taken a linguistics course, and it's still probably one of the worst, hardest, most boring classes I ever took. So I took screenwriting based on the lesser of two evils. I didn't know anything about screenwriting either, but I knew it wasn't linguistics. So I took it, and it was awesome. And the requirement of that course was to write a screenplay. And so you just kind of learned by doing. And the teacher's name was Charles Deemer, and he was a playwright and had done some screenwriting. A really nice guy, really helpful, very frank with his feedback, but a good dude. And so I took that class, and I wrote my first screenplay there, and I liked it enough, the idea of screenwriting, that I wrote another one and another one and another one. And with each successive screenplay, I would either do better in a bigger contest or get some interest from a production company or an actor's agent. And so I just kept at it, a little bit like golf. Like, if you get one good shot, you'll keep coming back and doing it. And so that's kind of how screenwriting evolved for me. And then I did that for a long time with measures of success that did not mean making a movie. And that's kind of where I've been at in the last 4 or 5 years of, like, let's take a different approach to it. But it all started with screenwriting and not taking linguistics.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a small clip of my new favorite podcast. It's called Party Nerds Popcast, with recent previous guest Robert Carradine and his buddy and co-host Richard Gabai. This clip is from their episode with the great John Carpenter. Check it out.
First time we worked together was on Body Bags. And the penultimate moment in that story for me was to have the lift for the automobile come down and squish me. You were trying to figure out how to do that without actually squishing me. And then I came up with an idea. Why don't we get a couple of those cinder blocks over there and I'll just lay down and you get your guy with the Hudson sprayer to spray a bunch of blood out like I got squished. Do you remember that?
I remember what you're talking about. See, I wasn't so concerned about how to do it. I just wanted to drop it on you. But, you started talking about how to survive that shot. I remember it clearly, Bob. We were out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because it was supposedly a deserted gas station.
Yeah, which it actually was.
We built it, Bobby.
Oh, I thought that was...
Again, guys, it's called Party Nerds Popcast and is available everywhere you get podcasts.
Let's get back into it.
Okay, you mentioned measures of success that don't include making a movie.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
You research it out, you would enter this little screenplay contest and and then what are some bigger screenplay contests? What do I enter next? And so I would enter something that had a little bit more of a online reputation or had kind of what the message boards would suggest, like this is a bigger one. With each different screenplay, I would enter in something a little bit bigger. And so when I was, quarterfinalist, you're a semifinalist, those to me were measures of success of like, look, you're out there competing with thousands of other writers who are trying their best. And you're emerging in the semifinals. And so those were things. I had done some pitching and it had some good success in pitch rooms and getting considered and getting people to read my script and have it go up a couple of rungs of different ladders of production companies and get feedback and some notes and stuff from that. And so for me, just this idiot from the Portland area, this was pretty exciting to be considered or to have something like, hey, we're going to hold this for 6 months and see what we can do with it. And so I was having success as far as that side of the equation of getting read. I mean, they just talk about like, hey, if you're getting read, that's something. If you're getting considered, that's something. If they're asking for your stuff, that's other things. So that felt good, but it also felt super, super frustrating because that's not turning into a made film. That's not turning into a production or a credit. And so that kind of feeling kept growing little by little. And that's when I kind of turned to the DIY model of maybe I could write something that could be done myself. It could be done locally. It could be funded in a different way and smaller. And so having written so many things, I kind of knew how to write contained, how to write for something that could be filmed. And so that was the attitude that I took into the movie that we've had some success with now. But the biggest thing was, and this could be its own topic, was my third oldest boy. He wants to be a film director. He's down in LA. He works with content creators and brand deals, but he wants to be a director. And he had considered film school, but he's of that age and skill set where maybe he can do some of those things without the whole thing of film school and save himself some money. And so I decided with this one is I think I can write and produce and direct a film and have him be in it and learn alongside me. And that's going to be kind of like what it would have been of an investment if I was helping them with film school, of paying for a semester or a term of school or something. And so I decided I'm going to make this movie and I'm going to have my son, Danny, be in it. He's a good actor. He's a funny kid. And I'm going to have him kind of learn. And I'm going to set an example of get after it, man. You just make something. And this is how you do that. Knowing that minimally I would have this forever memory and this product that I could show family and my kids and eventually grandkids and you would just have this forever memory and this kind of artifact of remember when we did that thing. And then maximum, if it helps him learn a few things about how to shoot something small and contained and do it yourself and not wait on Hollywood to discover you, that would have been a good lesson for him to learn and be a part of. It'd be a super fun way to learn, which goes back to being the principal. Like, man, if you can make learning fun, then you're cooking with gas. That was the plan, and it worked out awesome.
So you kind of did this And the movie we're talking about, listeners, is called Van Damned, and we'll get to that in a minute. But you sort of did this project to kind of help shepherd your son into, learning more about the business and that side of it. Where did you learn it from? Who taught you?
I don't mean this in a cocky way. I guess I taught myself. I mean, I just did it. I just learned, watched, listened, read a lot, figure out what people like. If there are humble people who will tell you kind of some behind the scenes tips, and there's down to earth, you reach out to those people and you learn some things. But it's a lot of podcasts, a lot of listening, finding some YouTube, reaching out to people and gathering tips and ideas. And a lot of that for me as a writer is around telling a story and around shrinking a story, but having it still feel big enough, because this had to be contained. And so this project was unique compared to, the other scripts I've written, that's pretty big. That would be a big budgeted movie, not like an action crazy movie, but just like the scope of it is like, that's a lot of extras. That's a lot of people. But I had listened to enough screenwriting podcasts to kind of think through this, watch a lot of movies, listen to other things. So I learned it myself by doing and listening and paying attention and asking good questions. And I think that's a lot of learning. It could be anything. It happens to be screenwriting and filmmaking for me, but go learn, figure it out, go learn. And I always tell my kids, man, when you go into any kind of a conversation where you're meeting with this mentor or talking to this person or whatever, come with good questions, man. Just come with good questions, because a lot of people don't. And that's where it ends. It's like, you didn't come ready to ask a question. So they'll talk about elevator pitches and those kinds of things. And those are important skills. But I think just a great skill in life to instill in young people and to employ yourself is learn how to ask good questions, which, not to flatter you, Steve, but like within that podcast world, that's where it's at, is asking good questions, having a good formula for asking questions and that sort of thing. So I would say I taught myself, and I'm grateful to so many people who either knew they were sharing advice with me or were just down to earth enough of like, I'm just sharing this advice and experience with the world. If somebody clicks the link, they can learn about it. And I think it's a pretty cool time to be learning how to do just about anything and be self-taught in just about anything, because the world is ready to teach you.
Yeah, when I was a kid, my dad said one time, I said, I hate to ask a stupid question. And he interrupted me and said, the only stupid question is the one you didn't ask.
That's great. Yeah.
So I love that thirst for knowledge, just being inquisitive, whether it's about something that matters like heavily, or if it's just something that you're into. I think that's where it comes from. Yeah. That's where it happens. Let's talk about screenwriting for a second. It is my understanding, and I could be wrong, that you have sold options on 2 projects. Is that true?
Yeah, sold is it's like the $1 option type of deal. So sold is the relative term. So it's had one for 6 months and one for 8 months, where they were in the hands of a different production company with the hopes of finding some financing and packaging some things. And both of those fell through. And that's, again, I think going back to that idea of, what are the metrics? To me, that's still a step in the right direction. I remember one time, this was before having anything option, but I was teaching at this time, before I was a principal, I was teaching, and I get a phone call to my room, and it's this British accented guy, and he's, hey, I read your screenplay, because I had sent it to him. Somehow I had done okay in a contest. He heard about it, asked about it. I just forgot about oh yeah, I sent it. And I didn't know at that time that this dude was British. Anyway, he calls in the middle of class. And so I'm talking to this British guy, and I'd really love to talk to you more about this. I think you're onto something here. I want to offer some feedback and notes and see if we could make this happen. There's a production company, et cetera, et cetera. So he tells me his name. Of course, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I think oh man, I'll probably have an Oscar within 2 years now, because this dude's talking to me. It's like, it's just so stupid. But
the kids are like, Mr. Garrison, you're like, shut up, I'm about to be famous.
Yes, kids are dead to me now. I've moved on. So that night, to date myself a little, I go to Blockbuster. I find the dude. And it's like, I look at the DVD cover and the back of it, and it's like, this is like a dude. This is like a real British director, with the real movie, with actors I know.
Do we say his name, or we don't say his name?
Sure. No. And I've kept in touch off and on. His name is Rob Walker, and he had shot a movie called Circus with John Hannah and Famke Janssen. And it was like, I'm there at the Blockbuster. I can clearly remember, just clear as day, me looking at the DVD cover of this movie that he'd done, flipping it over. And you know how on a DVD, the names of the credits are really small. They're at the bottom of all the producers and writer and everything. And I'm like, Rob Walker, like, that's the dude. I talked to that guy today during class. That guy wants to read my script. I thought I had not made it, but I thought, like, I might make it now. And looking back at it now, that script was certainly, I'm a much better writer than I was with that thing. It was a decent idea. It was executed okay, but the budget on it would have been way too big. They're not going to take a chance on, but it was cool. Because there's another one. I was pitching at a pitch fest thing in Portland, and there was a documentary crew following this pitch fest, and they were kind of just creating different narrative threads as you do with a documentary. Like we'll see in the cutting room what emerges. They're kind of talking to me, and because I'm having some pretty good pitches, and I'm decent in a pitch, and I'm with this production company, and I start in on this action comedy that I'd written. And going back to my brother with the police thing, I've been on many kind of ride-alongs with my brother and kind of getting to see that. And it's like, man, this is rife with material for comedy. So I'd written a really funny comedy about a couple of brothers, a cop brother, and then the other brother is a newsman. And so they were on a ride-along together. And so I'm pitching this to this dude, and he's like, you feel in the room like, this guy's into this. He's liking this, and I think I'm getting somewhere, and this is going fine. And then suddenly he just holds up his hand. He says, I got to stop you right there. And the whole time this documentary crew's filming this. He goes, I got to stop you right there. I can't have you say anything else. And I need these cameras to stop. So he has a documentary crew stop filming. And he tells me, I appreciate it. I wish you luck. We're working on something too similar.
Oof.
I'm not even kidding. It turns out probably a year later, Ride Along comes out with
Kevin Hart
and Ice Cube, right? So that comes out. That's the company that I had accidentally, and it wasn't this guy's fault. He's just like, I'm just hearing pitches from everybody. But it was interesting. But to me, again, I'm like a well-paid optimist. So to me, that's still,
it let you know you're onto something.
yeah. And so it's, again, I go back to that idea of golf. Like if you hit one good shot, you could have the worst day, but if you hit one good shot, you're going to keep coming back to golf. And so that was another thing, like, okay, so that's how that works, is they'll say, they'll stop you mid pitch if it's something too similar, and that's the right move for them to do. But you are onto something. Like you had a decent idea. Somebody had it 2 years before you, probably, of decent enough, and they had access to Kevin Hart and stuff like that. So some of these metrics for success, it's interesting. And it's, again, I hate cynicism, but some of it you look back on it is like, you were not that close, man. That was not anything. But then other times you're like, I know that I had those notes from that company of that A-list person. I know I did. And so you feel like you're close and close. But then at the same time, like adjacent to that was growing in me as I'm watching Danny, my son, grow up and be serious about it. And he wants to keep doing it. And it's not a phase. He's still interested. Is like, as it becomes more doable to do it yourself, be learning on that track too, because you may come to a point where it's like, I'm not waiting on Hollywood. Let's just make a movie. It's going to be good for your kid. It's going to be fun for you. You'll have done something. And so it's not giving up on the Hollywood thing or giving up on these other screenplays. It's more like, hold on to that, but don't just sit here on your hands and do nothing. Like, do something. So just get after it. There's a word called alacrity. It means brisk and cheerful readiness. And that's kind of the approach that I wanted to take, of like, man, let's just show some alacrity. Let's get after it. Let's make it. And, you keep pitching the other things. You keep your eye on the ball of, like, from the writer perspective, if there's opportunities, there's a good story here, send it to this company, that company, try to get a manager, et cetera, et cetera. You keep trying to do those things. But for a year, let's focus our attention on this other movie, see how it does. It'll be a fun experience regardless. If it opens up a door later on with Hollywood, awesome. All the better, all the smarter it was. So that's where I was 2 years ago when I started to launch into the let's just make one.
I love that story. You were, equating it to golf or whatever, but I kind of think of it like football. Sure, you may not have scored a touchdown yet or a field goal, but you're definitely moving that ball down the field. With all of those steps, it's all progress.
Yep.
Hey, streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
You made a roughly 12-minute short film called A Hint of Menace.
Yeah.
I watched it this morning, and with a name like A Hint of Menace, I was not expecting to laugh as much as I did. Did you write that?
Oh, yeah. No, that was the baby step to Van Damme. So I wanted to shoot a feature. I had this idea of do it yourself and have my son Danny be in it. and wanted to do a feature, but COVID happened and it seemed like my can-do spirit is huge. So is his, but convincing other people to come along for that ride, I have to honor the fact that my job that pays the bills offers a level of certainty and comfort. And that's not the case for a lot of artists. Like, there are starving artists and it's tough out there. And I didn't want to be that guy just pushing people of like, hey, it's hard enough to make a film. You also want to make it during COVID, like a full-length feature film. It was just proving too tough. Maybe in like Los Angeles or Vancouver or Atlanta, maybe that would have been doable. There's instruments within the industry to make that doable. But in Portland, that was going to be tough to rally the troops to make it. So we decided to make a short instead. And that's what A Hint of Menace was. And the cool thing with that is that's my son, plays the kid. And then the other guy, the Brit in that, those two guys, they had so much chemistry and were so funny together that became the seed idea for Van Damned is I got to get these two guys some more time on camera together with not the same roles, but kind of the same relationship. That'll be funny. And so that short kind of became like a character concept sketch of this is the vibe, do that times 10. And so that's how Van Damned came about, was through A Hint of Menace. So we shot that over 2 days. And it was a really good lesson about crew and a really good lesson about location and sound. And so that was a good warm-up lap for the feature, as it turns out. But the biggest takeaway from A Hint of Menace was chemistry and casting. And these two dudes, one of them being my son, they were hilarious together. It's like, we got to get more of that. Somehow we got to get more of that.
Well, it was really, really funny. I couldn't believe the amount of times I laughed in such a short amount of time. I highly recommend it. Everybody, you can find it for free on YouTube. Just search A Hint of Menace and you can watch the whole thing. It's the first thing that came up when I searched it. And I recommend it to everybody. It was really funny.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're going to talk about Van Damned now.
Yeah.
Someone asked recently if this was your first feature, and your answer was a little bit vague. Actually, no, it was vague as hell. You said, and I quote, "It is my first feature that is out there." Ooh, what does that mean?
Yeah. Well, I guess in retrospect, there's 3. I had done different features that were not of the quality that I wanted to put out there.
And when you say done, does that mean you actually made them?
Yeah. They're in various forms of finished. So there was one that I did with my son that was more like a sci-fi horror.
Same son?
Yep. Same son, Danny. But in the edit, just kind of some clunky things. I would call that like, yeah, it exists somewhere. I don't even know. The DP has it somewhere. It was too contained because that's all I could afford. The idea and the pilot episode in the series that I've got written on from that, which doesn't have to be contained because it's just an idea and it's just a story. That script is awesome. It's called Antipode. It's sci-fi horror, but it's also got some dark comedy in it, and it's awesome. And it was a good training for other things as far as limited location and how do you think through the day that you're going to shoot, and is there a way to consolidate characters and this and that and the other. So it became a really good learning experience, is what I would call Antipode. But in the edit, it's too contained, too many spaces where it's like, this is not moving along because we couldn't afford to do anything bigger. Again, if I'm paying for it all, it's like, I am but a public educator. I can't, like, I'm not that dude. So there was that one. There was another one called Star Chief. This one's crazy. We shot that whole thing. Also a pretty cool thriller. And then the sound guy who had all the sound files, this was a tough lesson learned. Always get a backup file of the sound and collect those every day. He disappeared off the face of the earth. Disappeared. Like, just gone. Went to his house looking for him, talked to his employer, disappeared. And it was really weird because there was no conflict on the shoot. Dude was responsible and kind. He was a coworker, and he disappeared off the face of the earth. I still don't know where he went, let alone the sound files. So you had a really cool idea and a really cool movie, and then no sound. And you can't do everything in ADR because it'll sound stupid. So that was another feature that's not out there. And then way back in the day, before I even had kids or aspirations of doing stuff, I made a mockumentary with some friends that was super funny. And I think I have that on a DVD somewhere, but this was before people would put stuff out on Vimeo or YouTube or whatever. That's somewhere. And it's kind of, I mean, it's funny. It's a mockumentary. It was way back in the day, but yeah. So 2 failed attempts of getting stuff out there. And I wouldn't want, because now I'm so proud and happy with Van Damme's. Like, I wouldn't even count. Those things were, it's like putting a IMDb link of you took a warm-up lap somewhere. It's not even, I don't know. Hint of Menace, yes. Van Damme, absolutely. Those other things, learning experiences.
Wow. Dude, I can't even imagine how crestfallen you must have been when that dude just walked off with all your sound. That's fucking crazy.
Having to explain that to cast who'd worked hard. And it was low budget, but it was well acted. It was a cool idea, and some actors did really good work on that. And the DP, good friend, good young filmmaker doing good things. And this is on a shoestring or less budget. And then to just have to tell those people, I've done everything I can to find this guy. He is gone and I have nothing. And I felt so bad for everybody. It was horrible. That was a rough learning experience right there, because you feel like you're letting people down. And that's it's collaborative, right? Filmmaking is collaborative. And I get thousands of hours of reps of what it is to lead something and direct a vision as a principal. So I know what it feels like when you've let people down or when it's not gone well. And that was a really tough chapter of life of like, it's not my fault, but it's still me that has to tell the people this bad news. It sucks.
Ouch. Okay, so Van Dammed, I'm going to tell everybody the elevator pitch, if you will. You cool with that?
Yeah.
In a remote forest, a group of strangers face eerie encounters near a cursed rental van. Little do they know, the van's previous occupant, a former action star seeking peace in the woods, is now infected with an insatiable urge to kill.
That was awesome, by the way. I should have you do all of my voiceover. That was great.
Does having some acreage that is fairly wooded influence the types of stories that you write? Like, did you film this on your property?
Yeah, got a couple acres near some forest in the Columbia River Gorge. My backyard neighbor has a big old Quonset hut, which looks kind of like a small airplane hangar. And that's where we set it. When I wrote it in mind of here's where that will be, here's where that will be. And so that kind of gets into the learning how to make things contained and do some different things. The acreage was available and written into it. That was totally by design and totally to save cost and time.
So a lot of times when people are talking about screenwriting or writing in general, they say write what you know. But I think in this particular instance, like a good lesson for screenwriting, especially in the early days, is write where you have access to.
Yes, exactly. And I've thought of that phrase before. Write what you know you have. So in this case, I knew that I had Danny, my son, and I had Steve, the Brit, and I knew that I had chemistry from A Hint of Menace. And I knew that I had land, and I knew that I had a Quonset hut, and I knew that a forest, if you turn left or right, can look like a different piece of forest really quickly without you having to move the whole crew to another setup and drive time and all that. So I did. I wrote what I knew I had, and that was the taking off point.
How long is this film?
It is 80 minutes.
80 minutes. And you filmed it in 10 days?
10 days. Yep.
For roughly 15 grand?
Yeah.
Who paid for it?
You're looking at them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you married?
Yeah. I've got my wife. I got 4 stepkids, so I've got 8 mouths to feed.
The reason I ask is I'm always curious about the marital dynamic of this dude says, hey, I'm going to grab $15,000 and go make a movie in the woods behind our house. What was your wife's reaction? I mean, I would imagine her first thing was, you're going to what now?
Right. I mean, I love her and she's super supportive of the things that I do and where I spend my time. I think that the main thing is that she understood that I don't think it's true of all filmmakers, and I don't even think it's true of me every time if I had endless money. I think the aspect of that this is time well spent with my son, who is genuinely wanting to become a film director, I think that was a big deal. If this movie would have just been me and a bunch of actors from Portland trying to do a thing and didn't have anything to do with my son, then the time and the money put into it is a little questionable because of like who else is it benefiting. But if you go back again and look at it as you've got this forever memory with your kid because we love our kids, that's something. And then if it's also an inspiration to him, that's also something. He was down at Cal State Northridge thinking to go to film school and then decided not to after a semester. But if you look at it as, I probably would have invested some money in his education or paid for a term at CSUN or whatever, or a thesis film. Like if I would have contributed this money towards his dream or his education or whatever, anyway, this was a pretty cool education and a pretty cool moment and money well spent. There's also, of course, the hope that once on some type of streaming platform or whatever, some of this money can be made back. And if you break even, then it's all the more like it didn't cost anything other than the time and bother. So I don't know. I mean, in anything in life, at some point you bet on yourself. So a little bit of bet on myself, love and patience from her, but a lot of it is seeing it for what it is at bare minimum, an awesome, the coolest father-son project ever.
Well, props to Mrs. Garrison for
sure,
for being
for
so
sure.
understanding and dope about that. Is this film on the festival circuit right now? Where can people find it? Where is this film at in its journey?
Right on. Yeah, we got into a couple of festivals. It was super cool. One was down in Eugene, Oregon. We got to see that a couple of weeks back. And then a couple of weeks prior to that, it won actually Best Horror Comedy at the Oregon Screams Film Festival, a cool festival in Portland. Historic theater. It's called the Clinton Street Theater. They show the Rocky Horror Picture Show there, like I think every Friday night or something for 30 years now or something like that. A really cool theater. So we won Best Horror Comedy at that one. And that was fun just to be with the cast and crew and kind of get to watch their families watch it with them was super fun as a director, seeing other people be happy with their work. So yeah, it did that at the festivals, get a couple selections and a win. That felt awesome. And now we're working on getting it out onto a platform through a distribution company. So the hope is late fall at the earliest, probably more likely winter release. And so we'll try to rev up the marketing machine and pay some money to Zuckerberg and get the word out, I guess, and try to gather new audience, new eyes for it to take it in off of Tubi or Prime or whatnot. So it'll be out there soon.
So late fall, early winter or whatever of 2025.
Correct.
Oh, kick ass.
Yep.
That's fantastic. So people should just keep their eyes peeled and maybe.
Yeah. And hopefully, again, and I just appreciate you letting me be on here. I mean, just Van Damned, man, like exactly what you think it is. Van Damned. It's not about who you think it's about, probably, right? It's probably not that, but you should check it out. So Van Damned, just have it in the back of your mind and check it out. And hopefully we'll do a good job of getting word out, but hopefully people will jot it down or remember. I remember there's this horror comedy and this principal and his kid made it and it's called Van Damned. Who could forget that? Van Damned.
I love it.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Warning. Not listening to Fascination Street podcast may cause unexpected side effects. Side effects may include sudden fits of boredom, irrational curiosity about everything you missed, the inability to name your favorite podcast interview, spontaneous ignorance of obscure celebrity stories, talking to coworkers about nothing because you didn't hear the latest episode. Other symptoms may include excessive use of the phrase, "Wait, what happened?" Chronic seriousness with no trace of laughter or delight, unexplainable urge to scroll aimlessly instead of being entertained. In rare cases, not listening may lead to wandering aimlessly through podcast apps, overexposure to true crime reruns, and thinking you're cooler than you actually are. If you find yourself experiencing any of these symptoms, stop what you're doing immediately and download Fascination Street Podcast. Ask your podcaster if Fascination Street Podcast is right for you. Spoiler alert, it is.
Let's get back into it.
What came first, the title or the script?
That's a great question. Going back to like writing what you have, I knew I had the forest. I knew that I wanted to do a comedy because I'd already seen these dudes in Hint of Menace. And then I can't even remember. My ideas just come at weird times and places, man. So like the title for sure came first. I knew Van Damme had potential of like, that's something in that horror comedy space that for sure is something. And then as I realized I could write this contained, I could do it in my backyard. You just work around the edges of the villain will happen to be Belgian. The villain will not be seen a ton, as is the case with horror films usually. And so then I just was able to outline a sketch, mine for the comedic gold of these characters and just put different characters. It's an ensemble piece. So it's just like, write a triptych tale of these 3 different partnerships. And I think it was Spielberg that talked about you have your characters climb up a tree and then you throw rocks at them. And so that's what I did. and it's super, super funny. The cast is awesome. I think Portland and other small towns sometimes get a bad rap of like, there's not enough acting talent. The pool is not deep enough to pull it off anywhere other than LA or New York or wherever. It's like, man, that proved to not be true. There's a bunch of hilarious people. Like every actor in this thing is hilarious. Even if they've got like one line or two lines, they nailed it. So I was like over the moon, proud of and happy with the cast. The cast is super, super funny. So yeah, title, then script and rewrites and punch ups and just make it funny. But yeah, good stuff, fun stuff.
How long did it take you to write it?
I'd say probably 3 months, maybe 4 months. And then we did a virtual table read of it. And even in that virtual table read, you know, kind of have that Brady Bunch setup where you can see all the different faces as you're running a Zoom. And comedic timing is tough on a Zoom because even a half-second lag can kind of mess with it. But I'm looking around us and I can see the people. It's the first time they had gathered and they're like genuinely laughing. And I was happy as a writer because like, good. They're like, if they can get it off the page, there's so much more that can be added to this. If they're laughing at what's on this page of a cold read of this thing, we're in good business here. We're like, let's go. That was super encouraging. And so after that one, I think I did one more punch up of it. So 3 months or 4 months for the draft that they first saw, and probably one more revision after that to just punch some things up that was like, oh, I've got some talent here. She could do a couple more things here without making it too long or whatever. And so did that one more revision. And then that was the shooting script and away we went. 10-day shoot, getting after it. Super hardworking crew. So flexible. My DP, Nick Stout, is like just such creativity and calm. So fortunate. There's like 30 people that worked on this thing, cast and crew. And it's like everybody brought it. What a bunch of good people. It was great.
Is there a place where people can go to find out more about this film? Like, does this film have a social media?
Yeah. So Instagram and TikTok have been the main places that we've been present. So if you just go Van Damned movie, yeah, and it's DAMNED, like the damned. So not like that one actor that I'm not even referring to. I'm not even talking about that guy. So Van Damned movie on Instagram, Van Damned movie on TikTok. You can see some behind the scenes. You can see some little clips from our premiere. Super fun premiere with live music for my other son. Did some live music at it. Just a great night with a lot of friends and family there in Portland. So yeah, Van Damme movie on Instagram, Van Damme movie on TikTok. Love the follows and stay tuned on it. Next 2-3 months, we'll have it out there for the world and make people laugh. A little bit of scares, a little bit of laughs. Good times.
I think that's a great place for everybody to go to, follow, and then more information about when and where you can see it as it becomes available will be updated onto those sites. That's a great place to go. What about you personally, Derek? Is there some place we need to send people to check out you or follow what you're doing?
No, hey, I mean, follow this hobbyist and following the movie is cool. And then as far as the following me, don't follow me, just support public education, be nice to kids. Give them a break, give them hope, be cool to young people. It is a tough world, but they are trying. They've got good hearts and they're ready to learn. So don't follow me. Just do something good for young people.
Check you out. Well, wonderful words to go out on. Derek Garrison, the man behind not only A Hint of Menace, Van Damned, but also the man behind trying to make sure that these kids these days don't end up in the bad spot. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic, I guess, not paddling kids anymore schedule to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Derek. I appreciate all you do and all you have done, and keep doing what you're doing because you're making a difference.
Huge thank you to you. And I don't know, like whatever level of comfort, how do you do what you do? It's like, I love Jason Ritter, Parenthood Days. So like, it's like, man, this guy got like, and so I'm listening to these other episodes and then Titus Welliver, like, and I see some connections of like, oh, I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, but like, how are you doing this? Like, this is a cool, and I like that the idea is so down to earth and it's just like, that's a musician. Then when you found the accidental, like, it's not that one, it's a different one, and you still talk to him, the Chris Storer thing, like, that was also cool. How are you doing this?
I just reach out. Social media is kind of a big part of it. And as far as that Chris Storer thing, at the beginning, I might have explained that over the years, I've been fairly good, like surprisingly good at guessing people's email addresses.
Right, that's right.
And when I reached out to Chris Storer, he was so cool and funny about it. And I read it to my wife.
And he'd been approached, right? Like he'd been approached, like other people had thought the same thing.
Multiple times, yeah. He even has some tax receipts for the other guy. Like they emailed him some pretty hefty.
He's slowly
tax
collecting
receipts.
residuals. What the heck is going on?
That'd be amazing. But it was kind of my wife on that one. It was my wife's idea.
That's great.
I go, wrong guy. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I told her the story and she goes, interview that guy. That sounds cool as hell. And I had a blast. But I just reach out to people and sometimes people will stumble upon my thing and then I'll be like, hey, you stumbled upon me. You want to chat?
Yeah. Cool.
That's kind of how it is. It's been a lot of that.
That's cool. I mean, and just again, I'm looking at the rosters like, me? I get to be on this? Like, this is super cool. But just the wide ranging and then the occasional, the jeweler, the lady doing the jewelry, just like, I think it's just super cool that it's just like, hey man, interesting can be anywhere. It could be your neighbor. It might also be this famous, it's Titus Welliver. But then it's like, no, it's friend of, but they've got a story. It's questioning. It goes back to the questions that you ask and being a listener, but just these opportunities to give people, I mean, you have somebody like Titus Welliver is like, okay, that's a dude. But then you have other people who are like, yeah, I mean, I'm doing something. I'm keeping after it. You're hitting like this strata of people that deserve some airtime. Like we live in a time right now where it's like, it's weird how many people get to have a microphone. It's like, I don't think that's really good for society. It's like too much noise and too many microphones.
Sure.
But you're hitting a strata to me that's like super interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'm just 52-year-old guy and it's just like, there's some commonality or learn. Like I love listening to other people and learning from other people, but you're hitting this strata that's to me way more interesting than some of the other noise that's here or some of the other noise that's here. You're hitting this other thing that's just like that. I mean, to go to the title of your pod, like, yeah, kind of fascinating. I don't know anything. And like the Christopher Storer one was just like, I'm glad that you listened to your wife on that one of like, just do it. That was entertaining and interesting. It's just like, that's kind of a funny thing. Also, what does this guy do? Let's get to know this guy.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is, you don't have to be famous to be fascinating. So let's find out about this guy.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the whole, I mean, I was thinking, what's the best that could come of this thing? So more people follow the movie and see the movie and it's cool. But also, I don't think he's had a public educator on there that I recall that's doing something creative, but little reminder of like, there's principals out there. That's somebody's job. They do that. Like, that's good for this podcast. It's kind of a little tweak or something different. So I super appreciate the time. Like I said, I appreciate you doing this for me. It's super helpful and been fun.
Oh, well, I had a blast. Well, Derek, dude, you're a badass, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
We have a lot of similarities. Not only do we have the same face, the same glasses, the same facial hair, and the same hairline, I'm 51, so we're right there too.
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right, my man. I will talk to you later.
You got it.
You have a great rest of your week, man.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Vin. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jax Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.